So welcome back, guys, to the Joe Danger Show. I am here with Wade Mars, who was born and raised in the historic mushing cradle of Knik, Alaska. Am I pronouncing that right?
Knik.
Knik, okay.
Yep.
Oh, one.
It's kind of an anomaly.
A true Knik Kid who grew up behind a dog team. Influenced early by his late uncle and the Redington family, Wade learned the sport the old way, quietly absorbing the wisdom of legendary mushers who passed through the Redington home. Over the years, Wade has become a competitor and contributor to the race, the Iditarod, serving on the Iditarod Board of Directors, the Iditarod Official Finishers Club as president, and the Iditarod Rules Committee. After racing and training across Alaska for decades, Wade spent 3 years in the Northwoods of Wisconsin with his wife, Sophia, and their growing family before returning home to Alaska. Wade started his kennel as Stump Jumpin Kennel. Now it's 49th State Sled Dogs, a name that reflects the Alaskan roots of long-distance dog mushing. So Wade and I met this summer in Juneau. I was on a family cruise, and we did a dog mushing excursion. And actually, Wade, I think my mom met you first.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
She was asking the people there, has anyone here done the Iditarod? And one of the guys pointed to you, and then I think she started talking to you, and then I came along, and I mean, we maybe spoke for like 3 minutes before I had to hop back on the bus, but I was like blown away at some of your stories. So really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to have the chance to do a podcast and be on the show. It's pretty awesome.
Awesome, man. So where are you at right now?
I'm at home, Willow, Alaska. So right up about an hour north of Wasilla, Alaska.
Okay. And you're getting pounded with snow right now?
Yeah, we just got about 2 feet a couple days ago, and then overnight, that same night, we got another like 8 inches. Last night we got just a dusting of maybe 2 or 3 inches, and it's supposed to snow again tonight. So
that's wild. Well, I'm here in sunny Florida. It's like 75, but kind of opposite sides of the world here. But man, your story is just insane. So I think you did your first Iditarod at the age of 18. Is that correct?
I did. Yep.
Are you the youngest to ever complete the Iditarod?
I'm not. So you have to be 18 to run the race.
Okay.
And then it kind of goes off a birthday, right? After that. So Dallas CV, the most winningest Iditarod musher, just so happened to be born between junior Iditarod and Iditarod, which are 1 week apart. And so he was able to like run the both same year, I'm pretty sure. And so he's the youngest. He turns 18.
That's kind of luck of the draw.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we'll get into the Iditarod, but when I didn't really know too much about it, but once you talked to me a little bit about it, I did some research. It's insane. It's a crazy event, super cool. So we can get into that in a little bit, but so you were born in Alaska?
I was born in Palmer, Alaska.
And then you got into dog mushing just from your family and friends in the community?
My uncle got into it originally, and he kept the dogs with my mom at her house. Better property for mushing and then trail access and everything. And so I grew up with the dogs right in my yard, training with them when I was a little kid, following him. 2 dogs mushing with me on a tiny little sled and behind him and stuff. So that was how I started out in it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I got to meet some of the dogs when we were on that excursion, and they were super cool. We got to even play with the puppies. My dad was actually a veterinarian for 40 years, so I'm a big animal lover, and you can tell that the dogs they love what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Like you could tell they were fired up to get the sled moving and running. So really, like right when you were young, probably 4 or 5, you were working with dogs and hopping on a little sled, and then from there, did you start getting into eventually competitions?
Yeah, I actually ran my first 2-dog race when I was 5 years old around the outskirts of a lake. So you had people standing at every exit, straw bales, making sure you didn't take wrong turns and stuff. But it was a pretty cool little race there in Knik. And but then I kind of got into school sports for quite a while, and I think when I was 17, I came back, started racing more. I started training when I was like 15, 16, getting more into dog mushing. And then by the time I was 17, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. So,
okay. So you were really into it by the age of 17. And then you're 1 year from doing your first Iditarod. So could you kind of explain the history of the Iditarod? I mean, I knew it was I think everyone knows it's a dog mushing race in Alaska, but I don't think people realize the extent of the race, the extreme conditions. Like, I think you said, you do like 100 miles a day and you maybe sleep like 45 minutes a night for like 12 days straight. And it's just, I mean, it's gnarly.
yeah, it is. It's definitely a push for sure on the body and mostly and on the mind a lot as well. Yeah. It's with the dog team, you can do as much work as you want. You can sit and relax. You just have to train the dogs to be adapted to how you want to perform yourself on the sled and behind them. So if you want them to be used to you just relaxing and not really doing much work, they're fine with that. And so physically you can put in as much effort as you feel like you need to or want to. But mentally you're all in the whole time.
So where does the race start? Is it a big loop or is it a straight line across Alaska?
It's kind of zigzags across Alaska. So it starts right here down the road from us, which will be a really nice race morning. Just have a 5-minute drive to the starting line here in Willow. Yeah, then we shoot across Willow Lake out onto the river. We follow the river up to the mountain range, Rainy Pass mountain range, and then we go up over the range, across the interior to the Yukon River. Trace the Yukon River, either northern or southern. We have the split route there. We go northern on the even years, southern on the odd years. It keeps all the kids, villages, everybody involved in the race. Really cool to see those guys out there in the villages. So we split there, go both ways down the Yukon. We do a short portage over to the Bering Sea coast, and we're on that for the last few hundred miles into No.
Wow. And so overall is the race, it's over 1,000 miles, right?
Yeah, it's about 1,100 miles, give or take. And depending on the year, reroutes and stuff like that, it could be longer or shorter. Last year was a really long race.
And so you're doing the Iditarod again this year?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
We're all signed up and we've been training hard.
So how many times have you done the race?
I've done it 12 times.
Wow. Okay. And when does the race start again?
The first Saturday of March.
Wow. So you're right around the corner. Well, good luck, man. And I think I Googled you. So your best finish was top 4, I believe. Yeah,
I've been 4th place 2 times.
That's remarkable. That's something to be really proud of, man. So I got to ask the question, is the Iditarod, was it any correlation to the Balto story?
A little bit, I think so. This is kind of, so growing up with the Redington family, I got the opportunity to hear like the roots of everything really well. So the roots that I saw was Joe Redington, the founder of the Iditarod. He came to Alaska and worked for the military. He would go out, rescue planes from the wilderness, and stuff like that. He'd cross through a lot of the villages out on the trail and work with a lot of them. When he first started his job, everybody had sled dogs. Every village, every household had 4 or 5 sled dogs to get around and travel and do their hunting and everything with. And then when the snowmobile was invented, the dogs kind of started to disappear. So Joe wanted to figure out some way to keep the dogs alive in Alaska and the tradition of it and everything.
Right.
and so that was where he came up with the idea of the Iditarod to go from Anchorage to the checkpoint ghost town of Iditarod and back to Anchorage.
Got it.
And then Iditarod wasn't quite popular enough. Nobody really knew who it was. It wasn't really taking off. So he looked forward to Nome, and Nome was really well known from the story of Balto and all these things. So Joe said, well, let's go all the way to Nome. And that put a whole new spark in everything. Like, oh, that's impossible, right? The only way we could do it before was with relays and stuff. It's impossible for a team to get from here to there by themselves the whole way. So that sparked a lot of interest for people to watch that, see that happen. When they started the first race, they left the lake. The guys that left, their wives kissed them goodbye. They said, well, see you in the afterlife, kind of thing, you know?
Like a one-way mission.
Yeah. So that was kind of how it came to be, was his dream kind of came from keeping the sled dog alive. And then Nome kind of came about because of its popularity, and the people knew it really well.
Wow. And when did the Iditarod, when was the first Iditarod?
1973.
Okay. Wow. Super interesting. So I remember when we spoke, you know, you mentioned you have is it like 16 dogs to start with when you start the race?
Yep.
And then as the race goes on, if a dog gets injured or a dog gets too tired, there's basically checkpoints, right, where you can drop a dog off, and there's now the community all kind of works as a team, and they'll help fly dogs back to where their kennel is. And so basically dogs are staying safe, and if they're injured, they have a place to go. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, so I'll just go through the whole scenario real quick. So
yeah, I'll let you run with it.
Yeah, so we have a veterinarian program, and it starts pre-race. We do veterinarian blood work, and ECGs, EKGs for the dogs, check all their hearts and everything's operating well. And then the veterinarians will go through the dogs very particularly and just check every joint, every toenail, every tooth, everything from the tip of their nose to the tip of their toes, you know, make sure everything's 100% healthy. If there's any little thing here or there, we can get it fixed before the race, or you know, leave the dog at home. So it works out really well for knowing which dogs spring to the starting line, because we know exactly which dog is the healthiest dog to be there. And then once we're at the starting line, we have a veterinarian team at every single checkpoint. So we'll come into a checkpoint. We're not allowed to go through more than 2 checkpoints without getting a vet check. Okay. So if we decide we want to, you know, go fast and blow through a couple checkpoints or rest out on the trail or something, one of those 2 checkpoints, we're going to have to stop while we're loading our sled. The veterinarians will go through that team and do that same kind of thing. They'll have their tools and everything, and they'll check those dogs from head to toe and make sure that everything's just really sound with them.
That's incredible.
It is very incredible. They're very particular too, and they're very they have the power to say, like, we believe this dog is ready to go home, and we want you to send it home.
So at that point, you take the dog off its reins and leave at that checkpoint, and then the community, the team would fly the dog back on a prop planer and back to wherever he needs to go.
Yeah, so we have little planes that bring the dogs to hubs like McGrath, Caltag, or hubs where they have a big airport. So the littler planes will bring to there, and then the bigger planes will bring them to Anchorage. And then someone from our personal team will go pick the dogs up and bring them back to our kennels.
Wow, that's wild. And what type of dogs are these primarily? Like what breed?
These are Alaskan Huskies. So they're just a kind of a mixed breed of dogs. We breed somewhere around like Siberian Huskies, bred to lots of different kinds of hounds. We have sprint mushing as well. They breed into a lot of greyhounds, pointers, slookies, stuff like that. So their mixes kind of come down, and sometimes we'll blend over into their breeding program as well to kind of get a little bit of energy or attitude or something like that.
So cool. And then I guess typically you have the lead dog, right? So that would be the most important dog on the team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're probably the most important because you can run a 2-dog team.
Yeah.
But not in the race. You have to have 5 dogs to finish minimum. And so, but I love running a 5-dog team. It's so much fun. We just run the full 16 dogs so that we have the opportunity to send them home without, like, oh, I don't have enough. I have to bring this one with me. But with 16 of them, it's really easy to say, oh, you need to go home. You enjoy your time off, So anyway, yeah, their Alaskan Huskies, they range between 40 and 70 pounds. The dogs for racing.
And you typically start with 16 dogs, and then on average, so I think it's what, 12 to 14 days to finish the race.
It's the record fastest is 8 days, 12 hours.
Oof, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's an average of about 150 miles a day.
Wow. And then typically, how many dogs do you finish with?
Personally, I usually finish with 8 to 9.
Okay.
There is like a lot of different veterinarian protocols of like, oh, you can put this wrap on and this salve on or this thing here or there, and see how the dog does on the next run. I'm kind of in the mode of like, if you're sore, you're going to get more sore. Just go home. By the time I get there, you're going to be 100%, There is sometimes I'll give them a ride in the sled. So we do have that opportunity, or that option. So we'll give them a ride in the sled for a couple runs and their rest stops. And sometimes they can feel better if it's something very small,
Man, that's living, being a dog on a dog sled team and catching a ride in the sled.
Yeah. So yeah.
So how much, so if there's 16 dogs and you have your sled, I'd imagine the majority of weight on your sled is the actual dog food.
Well, most of the dog food shipped into those checkpoints. So where the veterinarian teams are, we also have a team of volunteers setting up all of our drop bags. So we put all the food pre-packed into white sacks, big white sacks, and they like feed sacks, and then they ship them out onto the trail. We have a bag, 1 to 4 bags per checkpoint, about 50 pounds per bag, and we'll ship out between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds of food out on the trail
for the whole race.
The whole race.
Man, so how much will the dogs eat in a day?
They'll eat somewhere around 20,000 calories a day.
Wow.
Yeah, they're pumping it in. When they're at their peak, they're eating a lot of beef fat, a lot of high fat and protein kibble, and then a ton of protein, beef, pork, all that kind of stuff. We do a lot of small pieces of things like pork fat is really good fast burst energy for dogs. So we can give them a little snack of that towards the end of a run, and it kind of carries them through that run strong, so little tricks like that keep them good, and healthy throughout the race.
So cool. Yeah. I think there's just a general misconception with like hunting dogs or racing dogs. This is, in my opinion, this is what these dogs were meant to do. This is what they want to do. Just seeing them for the one afternoon in Alaska, like they were so fired up. They were so happy. They were all really healthy. So I think you guys provide them with like an awesome lifestyle, and really take good care of the dogs, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, right from when the puppies are born, this is how their life goes, right? So they get bored. We train them by free running them. So they have recall to us and the ability to, we don't want them to be confined their whole lives. We want them to have the ability to go play and run. And so my whole kennel, we can let loose together. They're all very friendly with each other. It's crazy to think of 22 male dogs running around in a big pen with 6 other females and no growling, none of that. They're just playing, having fun, doing their own thing. Some of them know which ones to stay away from. We don't like each other. We'll go opposite directions, but they're all really cool in tune with each other. So that's our first big training thing, is just teaching them how to be a team and a group, at least in our kennel. And then the next thing is letting them run with a few adults just around the yard, in the harness, learning what it feels like, looks like. And then, as they develop and grow, some dogs absolutely love to race. They love to do the pushes. I have a couple dogs that when I'm on my low end of training, where it's like, okay, we're going to do some rebuild runs. We took a big break. We're going to be on short runs, couple days off here and there. They're like, bah, this is so boring. And then when we start hitting the camps and doing the harder stuff, they're like, this is the jam. Let's just do this all the time. So those are the dogs we're looking for, is the ones that like to go out and do the pushes and do the long runs and stuff. So we kind of go through the dogs and figure out what they love. Some of the dogs in my kennel are only going to race the middle distance races with me, the 200 and 300 miles. They're bigger dogs who like to drive really hard, and they're not going to last as long in Iditarod, but they're the perfect dog for the middle distance race. So we train them and race them together, and then they do that and they love it, right? The tour you came to this summer, we had a couple of teams there that's all they do, is they do tours in the summer and they do tours in the winter. And other than that, they just go do fun stuff, free run and go on little camping trips. And so we try to find where the dogs fit the best. Sometimes it's not with us, unfortunately, but if the dog's happier to be with the girl down the road who just does camping trips and has fun, then that's where I want that dog to be.
They're kind of the single A, but they're happy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have 28 dogs in your kennel?
Yes. Yep. Okay. And here right now, I actually own 38. I have a friend who's training my young group of yearlings in Fairbanks. We've worked together quite a bit mushing. I know I really trust him, and so he's got a group of 10 up there he's training and playing with that are just yearlings.
So do you have your 16 dogs? Like, have you made the selection of who you're running with for the Iditarod?
It always varies a little bit. I know the core, probably 12 and I know the 16 I would like to have there, but again, it's like we have the 24 so that we can make sure the healthiest of the 24 start the race. So and sometimes that's not your best one, unfortunately, but that's our main goal, is making sure we have the healthiest of the 24 at the starting line.
So cool. Well, we'll post a link to your kennel, and yes, if people are interested in supporting, they can reach out. So let's go into your first Iditarod. You're 18 years old. How nervous were you at the start?
It's kind of funny. I was around the Redingtons a lot during that time, spending a lot of time with them. They were helping me do food drops, making sure I was prepared properly and everything. And I kind of did mine right next to theirs. And everybody I was around, mushers, were so nervous, and like some of them were puking and just losing their minds, getting ready to start the Iditarod. And they're all looking at me like, how are you so calm? How's everything? Just everything's cool. It's all good. It'll be fine. I'm like, I don't know. It just hasn't hit me, I guess. And then we got to the lake on start day, and all of them are like, they got it out of their system. They're all good. They're all chill, ready to start the Iditarod. And I'm running around throwing my hat off like, I don't know what's going on. So it finally hit me right there, like 20 minutes before the start. This is happening.
So how many people participate in the Iditarod?
So in my first Iditarod, there was like 60 some teams, 70 some teams. The last time I raced, or this time, I think there's 35 or so.
Okay. And what percentage of teams who start will actually finish the race?
I think usually about 20% drop off on an average year.
I mean, I feel like this is like ultra marathon running, but like on steroids with like darkness, animals that can kill you, like danger at every corner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you start, I'm sure you're probably not always close to another racer, I'd imagine.
No, not often. Personally, I like to get a bubble and stay in it where I'm not close to another musher. I like to travel alone, do my own thing.
Lone wolf,
Yeah, I
like
have, yeah. Well, I've chalked it up that every time I've traveled with somebody else, our negatives stack on top of each other rather than our positives. So if I have a dog get a little tangle, I have to stop and fix it quick. I'm by myself. It takes me 30 seconds to fix a tangle and go. If I'm with someone else, I fix a tangle. Oh, they got a tangle while I was fixing my tangle. So they got to fix their tangle and we're waiting for each other. So now our 30-second stops took a minute and a half because they didn't run as fast as I did to untangle. So I just felt like every time I got into a situation where I was traveling with somebody else, the negatives started stacking up on top of each other very quick. So I
yeah,
try to
that makes
that.
sense. So this is March in Alaska, so you're probably not getting a lot of sunlight, right?
No, it's starting to change in March. Like it's starting to warm up a little bit usually, and usually, and a little more sun. But it can be pretty dark and cold sometimes too.
Are you getting like 6 hours of sunlight maybe, or 7 hours or something like that?
Yeah, probably somewhere right in there. Back
And
then, yeah.
you're really not stopping to sleep that much, right? So you're racing the dogs when the sun's up, when the sun's down, it doesn't matter. You're going.
Yep.
And how do you stay on course? Is a trailhead marked well, or do you have a GPS?
We are allowed to carry GPSs now. They were illegal for quite a while, but it became one of those things like who knows who has one and who doesn't, and kind of thing. So we might as well put them out there. So, but I usually don't mess with anything like that because the couple people that I know that have are like, oh, the trail's over here. It's marked. I went down it last year, and the trail this year is rerouted that way. So they go the opposite direction, trying to figure out where they are per the GPS, but it ends up backfiring on a lot of people. So I try to just pay a lot of attention. And my dogs, I've been really blessed with good leaders that really are good at following markers and tracks and things like that. Sometimes we get out on glare ice where you have no control and you can't see, the dogs can't see a clear trail, but the trail breakers in front of the race, we have a snowmobile crew that goes out in front. They make sure the trail's clear of trees or anything like that. And they put a lath in the ground. So it's like a really thin piece of wood with a painted top and a reflector on it. So we can see those while we're going down the trail. If there's a big open place with glare ice, they're really close together. If we're in the trees, they're every mile or so, just so we'd know we didn't go a wrong way.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but the dogs will learn that those reflectors are where we're supposed to go, and we can get out on a big glare ice lake, and with a good lead dog, they'll just run from one reflector to the next and just follow those. You don't even have to say anything to them.
It's incredible how smart these dogs are.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So, yeah. So what are some of the dangers? I mean, clearly, like you're in Alaska in March, it's freezing cold, it's dark, there's snow. It's you by yourself, maybe 16, 14, 12 dogs, who knows? And you're just ripping through the country. How fast are you going? Probably 10 miles per hour, maybe?
About 10, yep.
So what are some dangers you have to look out for?
Yeah, so personally, it's like the first real sketchy spot. Well, let me start here. Moose.
Great. Really?
Early in the race, moose. There's a section of woods we go through that's really heavy moose population. There hasn't been a problem in so many years. And Dallas CV, what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, had to ended up having an issue with the moose, and I think it was maybe 90 or 100 miles into the race, if that. So right there in that first section, we got to watch for those guys. They like to walk on the trail because it's hard pack. It's nice. They're not wading through the snow and stuff like that. But usually they'll step far enough out of the way that we can blast by them, and then they just come right back. So,
and what are the dangers? You'll actually crash into them, or they'll trample through the dogs?
Yeah, they'll get pretty mad sometimes if they don't want to move out of the way, and they'll come at you, charge at you and stuff. That's what happened with Dallas. Is it charged at him, and most all of us carry guns just in case to protect the dogs, from it. And he didn't have any. I don't know. I don't think he had any dogs that were badly injured or anything. Like maybe a little bit of dings here or there, but nothing major at all. So he got it pretty quick. Yeah. So.
Wow. Have you had any bad encounters with moose?
No bad ones. I've had close ones. I've had where they run right in front of the team, and I had a group of dogs. When I was a little bit younger, they had to have some kind of hound in them because they'd see a bird or a moose or something, and they just wanted to get it. They were the leaders, of course. So this moose one time ran in front of the team, and they both jumped up and grabbed a hold of it and kind of like drug off into the snow. But luckily, the moose just kept going, and they got back on trail and went. And then, one other time we had one run out of the woods, run next to us parallel, and that same dog jumped. She was farther back of the team this time. She jumped up and grabbed a hold of the moose, and it actually jumped over the team, ran on the other side, and then went off back in the woods. So but the scariest one for myself personally was we were going through a really windy section of the trail close to home, and the dogs always kind of pick up speed there, but they were picking up speed abnormally fast. And I'm like, okay, there's something here, a moose or something they're seeing. They'll go from that 10-mile-an-hour mush to 20 some miles an hour if you are on the right terrain. They'll take right off when they see a moose or whatever. And so we come around this sharp corner, and there's a moose laying in the trail. It must have been running from us and tripped or something. And then right before I got to it, it finally stood up. And I don't know why it was kind of half off the trail. Its face was right in my face. And I could have probably ducked and missed it, but my reaction was just to hit it. And so I just hit it as I went by.
Your fist?
Just punched it. And I was probably going 15, 20 miles an hour. So when I hit the moose, it knocked me over. I have a seat behind me on my sled, so it knocked me back into my seat. And the moose just and fell back into the snow. And I was like, holy cow. So that was probably this, sketchiest encounter with a moose for myself. That was pretty crazy.
That's kind of like spearfishing when a shark comes up on you and you don't know what to do. And sometimes they get so close. I've punched a couple in the
wow.
Yeah. So what happens if you get knocked off your sled? Will the dogs know that you're not on the sled, and will they stop?
It kind of 50-50. Sometimes they're like, oh, everything just got a lot easier. There's 180 pounds gone. So sometimes it picks them up speed, and they roll for quite a while without you. If you ever do fall off the sled in the race, you're allowed any means, a helicopter, snow machine, anything to get the dog team back. That's the most important, without penalty. Usually you end up jumping on someone else's sled, and they're waiting for you up around the corner where your sled tipped into the snow or something.
Okay.
I've only lost him once in Iditarod. I've lost him twice, but once only for a few seconds, but it's pretty scary.
And you just scream at them and they turned around?
Yeah, the first time I fell asleep on my seat. So I have a seat with a backrest, and I fell asleep and just fell right off the sled. And it was really deep snow. So when I tried to get up, I couldn't. Like my arms just sank straight into the snow. So I had to like wiggle myself backwards until I got onto the trail where I could stand up. And had all my huge gear on, so I stood up really fast and tripped and fell into the snow on the other side. I had to wiggle backwards. I got back up and I looked, and the dogs were going around the corner at the end of a long straight stretch, and I started yelling "whoa" to them, which is the command we use for stop. Mm-hmm. And they slowed down enough for me to catch them. That group of dogs was pretty good at that. They've done tours for most of their lives, and they were very, very calm group. Most of the time they would not do that. They would just
so then in that situation you try to get back on the trail and wait for another racer to come by.
Yeah, you just kind of follow behind the team. We have anchor hooks on the sled that when we stop, we put those hooks into the ground, and that holds us stopped. Some people will put like a bungee over those hooks or something so they don't accidentally bounce out, but I set mine up where they kind of hang off the sides and they can bounce out any, like if it gets really bumpy and I'm holding on tight, I'll tuck them in. But any other time I kind of leave them dangling. So if I fall off, hopefully they bounce out and catch on something and stop the team. Okay. I did lose the team one time training. There was a tree in the trail and I stopped to move the tree. And as I was throwing the tree off the trail, they took off on me and went right behind me. And so I hopped on my buddy's sled, my second team, and we followed them. And we came down around the corner and they were stopped. And I was like, oh, good, the hook's caught, And I walked up, stepped on the sled, and they just took right off. The hooks weren't caught or anything. So they were just like, okay, we'll wait for you. So that was cool.
So the race starts and you've got people throwing up because they're so nervous. You get going the first 100 miles, you're on moose alert because there's probably a ton of moose around. You could hit them. They could trample your dogs. Then you get through that, and now you got to worry about potentially falling off your sled or hitting fallen trees probably is a big concern, I'd imagine. Or what else kind of do you have to look out for?
Yeah, the trees are pretty well taken care of most of the time with the trail breakers in front of us and stuff. And then they have a couple scattered throughout the race that take care of stuff. So, but the next big thing is the mountain range, Rainy Pass mountain range. So we climb up Rainy Pass. We leave Finger Lake checkpoint, which is the third checkpoint on the trail. Okay. We leave there and we start climbing up to Rainy Pass. It's about a 35-mile run up into the checkpoint of Rainy Pass. And we're pretty much climbing most of the way up there. And then when we leave the Rainy Pass checkpoint, which is Pontilla Lake, we start climbing up into the peaks and the range. And then we cross through a big ravine with peaks on either side of us. It's one of the most beautiful things in the world up there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So like when I went up through there, my first year, I spread my uncle's ashes. The uncle that got me started in mushing, he passed away when I was 9. So I had some of his ashes left. I took up there and put on the mountain range and stuff. So it's pretty cool spot to go through.
Very proud of you.
Yeah. But anyway, we dropped down that mountain range in like 5 or 6 miles on the other side, just super fast. So that's the next danger, is holding on for that ride. The dogs love it. Yeah. And like I said earlier, these guys could top out around 20 some miles an hour, 23 miles an hour. So you're on a set of skis with an infinite amount of power in front of you going 20 some miles an hour down a mountain range. Sometimes it's pretty scary. And a lot of really fun. So one year,
do you wear a helmet or anything like that?
I never have. I've debated it a couple times. So one year in 2014, we took off from the start. We had a big warm up that night and next day, and all the snow melted off the backside of the range. It rained over there, and it melted off of the burn, which is right after the range. A big forest fire came through. So we're coming down this range on the gravel and the rocks. the dogs love it. They have perfect traction. It's smooth, they're ripping. But for us, we're hitting roots and rocks with the sled and stuff, and it's pretty sketchy. And then going down the steepest hill in the gorge one time, my drag mat ripped off. I was standing on it. So our drag mat is in between the runners of our sled where we stand, and it controls our speed. And I was standing on that, and it snapped. And so I have that seat behind me. When it snapped, my feet, locked to the ground and sucked me up underneath of the seat. So now I'm laying on my belly underneath of the sled, holding onto the brake, going down this hill.
Just getting
pulled underneath. So I have 50 pounds on my back being pushed into the ground, and going 20 miles an hour. And it's just like boulders and roots underneath of me, just bouncing off of them. That year, people were black and blue everywhere, the whole race. Everybody said it was that race was like a boxing match with Mike Tyson.
Because it was so just really the ice is what caused it.
Yeah, well, that warm up just took the snow away. So when we got past that, eventually I talked about the snow hooks hanging off the side, the anchors.
Mm-hmm.
That was how I was able to stop. Was I started shaking my sled really hard until one of those popped off and caught, and that's what stopped me on that deal. And I was able to recover and get going again. But right after that, we go across the burn, which is usually dirt, rocks, and that year even more so. We have a glacier in the middle of the burn that we have to climb up. It's about 100 yards long. Climb up that glacier. It's extremely slick. The dogs do it pretty much no problem, as long as we keep the weight of the sled off of them. So we're kind of trying to run up this glacier, pushing the weight of the sled while they're,
you're out of the sled, literally running it up the glacier.
Yeah, that way the dogs can kind of keep their footing, and it keeps them from slipping or having an issue.
Man, I'm telling you, this dog mushing and the Iditarod is it's got to be the #1 extreme sport. How many people really know about it? This is insane. And all this is when it's dark out, probably, right?
A variation of it. Yeah. I was going to say that earlier. Running in the dark is better usually because it's cooler for the dogs. Their favorite operating temperature while moving is 10 to 20 below zero. So
10 to 20 below.
Yep.
Dang.
And then when that sun comes out, March, like we were saying, more sunny. When that sun comes out, it can be 20 below and super sunny, and they're hot, because that light on them. So running at night.
How do you give them water? Do you melt snow? And
yeah, a lot of the checkpoints, some of the checkpoints are on lakes or rivers. They'll have a hole cut for us where we can dip cold water out for the dogs. And that's the first thing I do as soon as I get to a checkpoint is every dog gets a dish of water. So hydration, that's the first thing I do when I stop running is slam some water. So the checkpoints will have that. Some of them will have cook pots with boiling water as well, so we can put it right on our frozen meat for the meals and stuff. And then the checkpoints that are villages will have a school or a community center with water and sleeping area and stuff like that for us.
And the checkpoints are every 100 miles or so?
Some of them, the closest two are 22 miles. The farthest two are 90.
Okay. So kind of somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And it's a workout for you because you're off the sled, you're on the sled, you're holding on. I'd imagine it's not easy just holding on when you're going over bumps and getting dragged. So you're probably burning a ton of calories, and you're not sleeping. How much sleep do you get on average per day?
So we'll probably in a 24-hour period, we'll stop probably for 3-4 hour rests. And the maximum amount of sleep you'll get on a 4-hour rest is usually about an hour. If you squeeze in an hour and a half, you're really lucky. And that's the time that the alarm's set for. So whatever time it takes you to fall asleep is not included in sleeping. But on Iditarod only, and I don't know why, but at home I snooze my alarm 10 times, but on Iditarod, I almost always wake up 5 minutes before my alarm. And I'm like,
Because you're
I miss
fired.
my life.
It's like me before I'm going duck hunting. I have a 3 a.m. wake up call. I'm up at 2:55, ready to go.
Yeah.
If it's Sunday, I got to do chores. I'm like,
Right. One of those things. Yeah.
So you're getting 45 minutes to an hour of sleep a night, and you're going 12.
You're getting that three times a day. So you get like 3 45-minute naps a day if you're on top of your stuff. So
by the end of the race, I'm not sure if you told me this or someone else I spoke with, but a lot of the racers are borderline delusional, right? Like seeing things.
Some people do go delusional for sure. I've never hallucinated. I have thought I was hallucinating a few times, and it turned out to be a real situation. But there are quite a few mushers who have a really hard time handling the sleep. I do too, but not to that extent of the hallucinations.
What were the times where you thought you were hallucinating, but you actually weren't?
So my rookie Iditarod, going up the Yukon River, my rookie Iditarod was by far the hardest Iditarod I've experienced. And it weather-wise, like it's never been that bad since I've ran it again, weather-wise. So I left a checkpoint, or I was coming into a checkpoint on the Yukon River. It was about 700 miles, 600 miles into the race. It was a really bad windstorm. What's a normal 6-hour run was taking 13 hours, just fighting through the wind and finding our way. And that was like for everybody in the race across the board was taking that long. So, but I was coming into this checkpoint and I was probably 5-10 miles away. I was extremely sleep deprived, 18. I have on Carhartt bibs, old bunny boots, and a homemade parka. That was a good parka, but I had no wind gear or anything, and wind gear is amazing. It blocks 100% of the wind. But it was 77 below zero with the wind chill factor at this point. So everything that's going on is like, how do I stay warm? How do I survive this? I need to get to this checkpoint. The dogs are perfect. They love it. They're all coated up and wrapped up and taken care of. But I'm back there just freezing, and all of a sudden I see these people and I'm like, what are these people doing out here on the river, walking down the river? And like, okay, these people are not real, obviously. Why would someone be out here walking in the middle of this storm? So I'm like slapping myself, shaking my head, trying to get these people to disappear. And I finally catch up to them. And the guy looks at me and says, how far is it to the next checkpoint? And I'm just kind of staring at him. And I don't say anything. And he says, you got any extra water or food? And I'm like, just staring at him, and I just keep mushing, and he's like kind of walking with me a little bit, trying to ask me questions, and I'm like, this is the craziest thing in the world, and I just mush away. And then I get to the checkpoint and I'm doing my chores and stuff, and I don't tell anybody because I don't want anybody to know that I'm losing my mind. And then these two guys come walking into the checkpoint, and the guy's like, could you not hear me talking to you? And I was like, wait, you're real? So
they were
time
too?
They were doing the ITI. This was the first I'd ever heard of it. So it's like a walking, biking, and skiing. And it goes from, follows the Iditarod Trail to McGrath. And then some people will continue on all the way to Nome.
You hadn't seen anyone for 5 hours. And
I haven't seen anybody for like almost 12 hours. And then in my last hour of this run, and I'm kind of, dozing off, coming back in, and the dogs are just killing it. But I was like, this isn't real. There's no people.
When you go without sleep, I've done it a couple times where I do like 3 or 4 days with minimal sleep. Your brain really starts playing tricks on you.
Oh yeah. It's interesting.
Were you, I'm not sure, I think when we spoke, you said one time you had a pack of wolves run right alongside you?
Yeah, I've had a couple experiences with wolves out on the trail. They're very curious, but they're not aggressive at all. It's pretty awesome to watch them,
And they'll just run right alongside your dogs?
Yeah, if they see you like out in an opening, like on a lake or something, they'll run on the far edge of the lake, kind of parallel to you for a little while before they go back into the woods or something. Just kind of watch what you're doing. Usually they'll kind of stay out of sight and watch you pass, and then you can kind of tell that they show back up. The dogs really know that they're there. They're watching them and stuff. And I have had one experience where there was two wolves alone together, and the dogs they did not like that. They were freaking out. When there's been big groups of wolves, they don't really mind it. I think they can tell the wolves are just curious. But when there was just those two wolves, the dogs were like, they were trying to turn around to go the other way and stuff. They're like, we got to get out of here. This is not good.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if
what's been your craziest encounter on the Iditarod?
Ooh, to be honest, I haven't really had many encounters on Iditarod.
Or like the craziest experience you've had on the Iditarod, or most memorable story.
I think the coolest thing was the lynx like come up and sat at the top of a hill and watched me climb the hill, and then just pieced out right before I got to him. He just kind of watched us work hard getting up the hill, and then he's like, "See you later." Yeah, and headed off. So that was pretty cool.
Do you ever get so like I do a lot of bow hunting. I love deer hunting. And like walking to my stand, I think I'm like, big and bad, and then it's like 4 a.m. I'm walking to my stand, it's pitch black, and like I hear something break, and it's super creepy. I mean, you're out there 12 days in the darkness. It's got to be nerve-wracking, right? Or are you just used to it at this point?
Well, the one thing that I learned early when I was young, probably like 16, I started going on 40-mile mushes, where I would just go 40 miles away from the house, camp for a few hours, and 40 miles back. And for a little while there, I was pretty nervous, like, oh, there's got to be animals, there's got to be this, and especially when we're camping, something could come up, But I learned really quickly that the dogs are so in tune to their environment, or like surroundings, that there's nothing to worry about. You'll know the second there's anything close to you. They're going to let you know it when you're out there. Like here in the yard, a moose could walk right into the dog yard before they realize it if they're sleeping. But out on the trail when we're camped and stuff, they're paying a lot of attention. A bird comes in and lands on a branch, they'll lift their head.
And grizzly bears are probably still hibernating at that point, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
They're not too much of a concern. So, all right. So you get through the start, you get past the moose, you get past the stumps, you go uphill, you go downhill, you're trying not to crash, you're completely sleep deprived. So then you get to the end of the race. I mean, that's gotta be like an all-time feeling, I'd imagine, when you're like, you got 50 miles to go. So what's going through your brain at that point?
Yeah, it's so what we got is there's a checkpoint called White Mountain, 77 miles from the finish.
Okay.
We have 3 mandatory rests on the race, 2 8 hours and a 24. 24 can be taken anywhere. The 1-8 has to be taken on that Yukon River section. The Yukon River is usually pretty nice. If we go on the southern route, we can get that wind I was talking about with the cold. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it that cold again since that race. Luckily, I think. But then we get onto the coast. We go across the coast. As we're coming off the coast up the river, the slough there, we get into White Mountain. We have that 8-hour break there before we do our last 77 miles into Nome. So usually when we leave Elam, which is the checkpoint before White Mountain, we know what place we're going to get in the race, unless there's a pile up in front of you or behind you. But you usually know, like, this is where I'm going to end up, pretty close to right here. So when you get to that 8-hour break, you're pretty relaxed. It's probably the most relaxed you are the whole race. I have had situations where I'm piled up with people and it's going to be a race, or there's someone close enough in front of me that I need to catch them. Or need to try anyway. But most of the time I've been in a bubble there. I can sit back, relax, just really let the dogs enjoy their time to the finish line. I can enjoy my time. It's a really hilly section coming out of there, so it's really hard work, really steep hills and really big side hills. So side hills, when we're going straight across the hill on the side and our sled's tipped sideways, so we have to lean. Yeah, so we're leaning really hard uphill, trying to keep that sled from dipping down into the snow and pulling the dogs downhill. And they don't have a problem jogging across there, but it's back behind them. We're working really hard.
Yeah, I don't think people realize it's not like you're just standing there. Oh, like, let's go, dogs. You're moving. You're probably like squatting, turning, twisting, in the sled, out of sled, running. So, and we could get into all that, but maybe that's for another podcast. Staying in shape and what you eat and all that stuff.
Right.
But then you cross the finish line, and I mean, that's what, 12, 13, 14 days of just grinding. It's got to be like
only 8. Hopefully only 8 days.
Oh, okay. Well, so what was your fastest? 8 days?
Well, I think my fastest is 8 days 11 or 8 days 7, somewhere right in there. So yeah, I think I've broke the record 2 or 3 times for fastest, but in the same year that I broke the record for fastest, 2 or 3 other people broke it too. So it's like, I set up my schedule, my team to win the race last year.
so this year you're going for number 1, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. We always just, I always go in with a plan, a schedule, and then I kind of just play the dogs. I try my best to ignore the competition. I do keep an eye on where they are, what they're doing, but I do my best to ignore them until the last little bit, where I start having to be like, okay, this is where I'm set up to make a move if I need to make a move. So that's where I start watching the competition, and if it's a faster race than normal or something like that, I learned that the hard way.
Does your team, are you in communication with your team? Like, are they tracking, hey, this guy's in 1 and this guy's in 2 and it's a fast year, so you gotta like it's like basically strategy, or is that something you have to figure out on your own?
You can do the coaching now via phone, satellite phone, or InReach. We can do GCI phones in some of the checkpoints will have service. But I've had bad luck with that kind of thing. A lot of times it gets in my head, or I'm trying to get information and I'm not picking up service, and then it gets frustrating. Like, I need to know what's going on here and I can't. So I've kind of come to the conclusion that does me more harm than good.
Just run your race.
Just run my race. And then what I've figured out is like, okay, I want to know what's going on when I get here, because this is a long break for me. I can sit down and process it after my sleep, and I can see what's going on. So I like to gain the information and knowledge of what's going on in very specific spots, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the race. And then other than that, I like to just focus on what I'm doing, my dogs, and keep that smooth and good.
And so cool. Well,
yeah.
So how can listeners support the Iditarod, your dog's mushing team, other dog sledders? What's the best way people could contribute?
Yeah, I mean, the dog mushing is a going sport, and it has a lot of room to grow. It has a lot of room to succeed and excel. Right now, we're in a slight bit of a slump, but I think that there's a lot of visionaries working on bringing it out of that. Just the economy is really hitting hard. So with dog food and racing and everything. So Iditarod.com has really good information for the race itself. There's a lot of smaller races, middle distance races, 200 and 300 mile races that always need support. And then as far as individual mushers, the best thing to do is, go on to those races and look through the musher list, and everybody has a bio and a website. So you can choose a musher that you like and vibe with if you want to work with a musher, and people are pretty much always open to working with sponsorship and friends, or just being involved or whatever with the training and stuff. So we have sponsored dogs and sponsored checkpoints and different programs, so you can get involved in different ways. And then there's just like, straight up donations as well, and stuff.
Yeah. And for those listening, if you have 38 dogs, I mean, just think about the cost for dog food, veterinary bills, like lodging. I mean, you name it, like probably grooming. Like, I mean, I had one dog and he was expensive. I can't imagine, 38 or 36 like top tier racing dogs that you need to keep in pristine shape. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a super cool sport. And kind of the whole reason that I'm doing a podcast is I want to try to promote, the younger generation to like get off your phones, go outside, like go dog sledding, go hunting, go fishing, go diving, like just get offline and live your life. And I think you'll make better memories that way. You'll network with people, you'll make friends, you'll make, lasting memories. So super, super cool what you're doing. And I don't know, I think it might be like number one gnarliest sport there is.
Yeah, it can be for sure. And I was just say, like, on that note, I've had a lot of junior mushers race out of here. So we have junior Iditarod, just 14 years old to 17 years old. And the families that brought their kids in, and like, we just want our kids to learn how to work with a team that's not like pressure for like a pressured team, like sport wise, like go learn how to interact with animals, learn how to thrive in that way. You get the outdoor experience with it as well. So it's kind of a huge realm of traveling outdoors, animal connection and love and work with as well, so it's a pretty cool experience for young people, and learning curve, and it teaches them really well how to care for something too. With dog mushing, there's a lot of care that goes into the animal, so it's really good for young kids. And
it teaches them just life, like life responsibilities, and hard work ethic, teamwork, like all things that are important. You go to college and get straight A's, but does that really matter if you don't know how to work with a team, or you don't know how to treat people? And so
and then the junior Iditarod has huge they do, for prizes, they do really big what do you call scholarships, college scholarships and stuff. And the one kid that raced with me the most, he went to trade school and stuff and got a bunch of certifications and stuff with that scholarship money. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool
stuff. Guys and girls going to trade school nowadays, not a bad route to take.
No, yeah, not at all. He owns a big construction company and equipment. So
So what does a winner get? Is there prize money in the Iditarod?
Yeah, the first person to cross the finish line gets 50,000. This year it's actually up to 68,000, I believe, or 60-some thousand. They went up. We had a little bit of a sponsorship deal go through for purse and stuff, so it's pretty cool. The purse went up pretty significantly, but it pays down to the top 20th place usually gets like 10 grand or so. And then everybody who finishes gets $2,000. That pays for your plane ticket home out of Nome, at least, so.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, wait, I got to get your address, because I got you. I'm going to send you some. These are prototype number 1 of the Joe Danger Show hats. They're arguably the worst hat ever made. They're $7 knockoffs from China. And then I give everyone on the podcast one of my favorite books. Have you ever read Endurance?
I have not.
Man, it's my favorite book. And I was thinking, before your Iditarod, this would be a great this is like motivation right here. It's Ernest Shackleton. He was the first. He wanted to be the first to make it to the South Pole on boat, and also I think with actually probably with dogs and sleds, and they got stuck in a ice shelf, and for 2 years him and his crew survived by themselves. And then ultimately I'm kind of ruining it, but he got in like a 20-foot life raft, paddled like 1,000 miles to I think somewhere in South America, and rescued his whole crew, and no one died.
Wow. I think I've heard that brief story, but the book sounds interesting. I bet that's amazing.
I'm going to mail you the book, some hats. I'll mail you some stickers if you want to put one on your dog sled. And then a little gift for the doggos.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
And we're going to put your link in the video. So anyone who wants to help out Wade and his team or the Iditarod, feel free to check out the link and contribute. But man, super, super interesting.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time, and we're rooting for you, man.
Thank you.
I'm going to follow you online as you're going.
Yeah, definitely do it. And if you ever want to second go at this, I'd be happy to hop on again sometime.
Yeah, maybe round 2 after you're the Iditarod champ.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna manifest it. You're gonna be number 1.
Yeah, definitely. I've been telling my kids that. Are you gonna go? They say, "Are you gonna run the Iditarod, Daddy?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna win the Iditarod."
Yep. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna win it.
Yeah.
Like you said in the beginning, it's a mental battle.
Yeah. It is. And then on the race, it's so up and down. So you gotta keep it there. Like, I'm here to win. I'm here to win. I'm here to win.
Heck yeah. Well, man, I'll shoot you a text after this, and I'll get your address. But
awesome.
Super, super interesting. Best of luck. We're rooting for you. And we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Wade. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah. No problem.
All right. Cool. I'll see you.